Hey everyone. We all want to get better at communicating, right? Like whether it's for work or relationships or just feeling more confident.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're all here today, right? We're doing this deep dive on this episode all about communication tips.
Absolutely.
There are 10 of them in this episode we're looking at.
Yeah.
And we're going to go way beyond just like listing them off.
Right.
It's more like, okay, but why did these things work? Like, what's the reasoning? And then how can we actually use them?
Yeah, exactly.
In real life. And the first one's so interesting, right? It's all about know your audience. But I feel like so often we just launch into explanations. And we don't even think about who we're talking to.
It is so easy to forget that the person you're talking to may not have the same background knowledge as you or the same level of understanding, and we just get so caught up in our own heads,
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think they use an example in the episode about like, if you're explaining something really scientific to someone who like has no background in science, you're just going to lose them.
Yeah, you're speaking a different language, basically.
Exactly. Oh, it's like that time I tried to explain like a marketing strategy to my grandma.
Oh, God.
And I was using all these like fancy words and she just like, her eyes glazed over.
Oh, yeah.
I had to really simplify. And then I realized, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
That's the key. It's meeting people where they are.
Totally. And like less about, sounding impressive and more about really connecting.
Exactly. Making sure that your message is actually getting across.
So yeah, know your audience, but then it's like, okay, well, you have to listen to them too.
Yes.
Right. And that's the second tip. It's all about active listening.
Active listening, yeah. And it's so much more than just like passively hearing the words.
Yeah.
It's about being present in the conversation. Like, you're really there.
Totally.
Like, you're engaged.
Yeah. And they talk about putting your phone away, making eye contact. And I've noticed when I'm really actively listening, I end up asking way more questions. I try to like summarize what I'm hearing and then make sure I understand correctly and even reflect their feelings.
That's powerful.
And it totally changes the whole conversation.
It creates a space for real understanding.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you have that back and forth. It's not just one person talking the whole time.
Yeah. And they even talk about specific techniques like paraphrasing what someone has said. So instead of just saying, oh, I see, you can say, so what I'm hearing is you're feeling frustrated because...
Or it sounds like you're feeling really hurt right now.
Yeah, that validation can be so powerful.
And that leads to deeper connection, more trust.
Oh.
Okay, so we've talked about knowing your audience, active listening.
All right.
What about all that stuff we do without even realizing it?
Oh, body language.
Yes.
Yeah, tip number 3, it's huge.
It is huge. I've learned that the hard way so many times. I remember I was giving a presentation once and I thought I was being so confident, but someone told me later that I was like fidgeting and not making eye contact the whole time.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh no. That totally undermines everything I was saying.
Totally. Yeah. Your nonverbal cues can completely change how your message is received.
They really can.
Like, even a simple smile can make you seem so much more approachable and open.
Yeah.
But if you're standing there with your arms crossed, that signals defensiveness.
And I think what was really interesting was they suggested recording yourself.
Yes.
Like practicing and recording, or even just watching yourself in the mirror.
It can be so revealing.
It can be so eye-opening.
Like you think you're doing one thing.
Yeah.
And then you see yourself and you're like, oh my God, I had no idea.
Totally. And once you see it, then you can work on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then there's this thing that I always get hung up on. It's like using the right words.
Vocabulary.
Yeah. Like I never want to sound too simple, but I also don't want to use all these big words just to try and sound smart.
Right.
What's the balance there?
Yeah, they debunk that myth in the 4th tip.
Okay.
It's not about using the biggest words. It's about using the words that communicate your message.
Clearly.
The most clearly and effectively.
So clarity over complexity.
Exactly. And that doesn't mean you can't elevate your language, right?
Right.
Like instead of saying good or bad all the time, challenge yourself to use more descriptive words.
Okay, so like what, instead of good?
Like exceptional. Or instead of bad, you could say disappointing.
Oh, I like that.
It's like you're adding spices to a dish.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
You have all the right ingredients, but the spices make it so much more interesting.
Yes.
And just like cooking, building your vocabulary takes time.
Totally.
It's a process. So read widely, pay attention to how other people use language.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to try out new words in your own conversations.
That makes so much sense. Yeah. Okay, this is making me think about the next tip. I mean, everyone loves this one. It's all about storytelling.
Oh, yeah, story.
Like we're hardwired for it.
Right. We are. It's such a powerful way to communicate.
But I like that they didn't just say like, oh, people like stories. They actually explained why.
Yes, the science behind it.
Yeah.
When we hear a story, our brains don't just process the information, they simulate the experience.
Whoa.
Like the same neural pathways are firing as if we were experiencing it ourselves.
So it's like you're living it with the characters.
Exactly.
That makes so much sense.
And because it activates so many different parts of our brain, the emotional centers, the sensory centers,
oh, wow.
It's much more likely to stick with us than just like dry facts.
Oh, it's like that presentation I saw where they just droned on about statistics and data.
We've all been there.
And my eyes were glazing over. I'm like, just tell me a story.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, bring it to life.
Imagine if that presenter had woven those facts and figures into a compelling narrative.
Totally.
They could have made it so much more relatable and impactful.
Okay, so it's not about ditching the facts altogether. It's about how you present them.
Exactly. It's about making them meaningful and memorable through the power of story.
Makes so much sense. Okay, I got to work on my storytelling skills. So what's the next thing? We got to keep things moving here.
All right, let's talk about clarity and conciseness.
Oh, this is a big one for me. I tend to over-explain.
Oh, yeah.
And get lost in the details.
We've all been on the receiving end of those long-winded explanations, right?
Totally.
Where you're like, okay, get to the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
Okay, I like that.
Being clear and concise shows respect for the other person's time.
It does.
And it helps make sure your message is actually heard.
That's so true.
They gave a really great example in the episode.
What was it?
So instead of saying, I was thinking that maybe it would be a good idea to consider possibly going to the park.
Oh my gosh, that is so me.
Just say, let's go to the park.
Yes.
Get to the point.
Okay, so edit my thoughts before I speak them.
Exactly. Think about it. Like, every word you use should be working hard to convey your message.
I like that. It's like decluttering your words.
Exactly.
Okay, so we talked about knowing our audience, active listening, body language, the right words, storytelling. Wow, we are communication masters.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
But there's more, right? What else do we need to dive into?
Well, we focus a lot on the mechanics of communication so far, but there's a whole other layer that's just as important.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's the emotional side.
Oh, the feelings.
Yes, exactly. And that's where EQ comes in, emotional intelligence.
Ah, EQ. I've heard so much about that, but I still feel like I don't really get it.
Yeah, it's basically the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, but also to recognize and respond to the emotions of other people.
Okay, so it's like a two-way street.
Exactly. Have you ever been in a conversation where you can just feel the tension?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Or maybe you've had a misunderstanding with someone because you misinterpreted their tone?
All the time, especially like in texts or emails. It's so easy to read into things.
Right, and that's where EQ can really help.
Okay.
When you're emotionally intelligent, you're more attuned to those subtle cues.
In yourself and others.
Yes, exactly. You're able to read between the lines.
Okay.
Pick up on those nonverbal signals and respond in a way that de-escalates conflict and builds connection.
So it's not just about being like, nice.
No, it's not just about being nice or sensitive.
Okay.
It's about understanding the emotional undercurrents in any communication.
Yeah.
And knowing how to navigate them effectively.
Oh, that's so interesting. So like, what's an example of that?
They gave a great example in a podcast episode. Imagine you're talking to a colleague who seems withdrawn and distracted, right? An emotionally intelligent communicator might pick up on that shift.
Okay.
And simply say, hey, is everything okay? You seem a bit off today.
Oh, that's so simple, but so powerful.
It is. It shows that you care, that you're paying attention.
Yeah.
And it can open up a space for that person to share what's going on.
Which can like build your relationship even stronger.
Exactly. And by acknowledging their emotions, you're creating a safe space for vulnerability and authenticity.
I love that.
Which is essential for genuine connection.
Yeah, totally. But EQ is not just about other people's emotions, though, right?
Right. It's also about managing your own.
That's a tough one.
It can be tough.
Especially like when I feel like I'm being criticized.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to get defensive, even if the feedback is good.
Yeah. And speaking of feedback, that's actually the next tip.
Ooh, feedback.
The key to growth.
It can be hard to hear sometimes.
It can be.
But I know it's important.
It is. It's essential for becoming a better communicator.
I like how they said, think of every piece of feedback as an opportunity to learn and grow.
Yeah, whether it's positive or negative.
They even suggest, like, specifically asking for feedback after you give a presentation or have an important conversation.
Yeah.
I never do that.
It can feel a little vulnerable, right?
Yeah, like, how'd I do?
Yeah, or what could I have done better?
But the people who are willing to give you that feedback are the ones who really want to see you succeed.
Exactly. They're your allies in this journey.
And it shows that you are humble, that you are willing to learn and grow.
Absolutely. All right, so we've covered a lot.
We're communication superstars.
We're on our way.
But there's more, right? I feel like there's always more to learn about communication.
There is, and like any skill, communication requires practice.
It's like learning an instrument. It's not going to happen overnight.
Exactly. It takes consistent effort and a willingness to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and they gave some really good suggestions for how to actually practice.
Oh yeah, like what?
Well, they talked about starting conversations with strangers, joining a public speaking group.
Oh, like Toastmasters.
Exactly. Or even just practicing in the mirror. I used to practice my presentations in the shower.
Hey, whatever works.
It felt silly, but it worked.
The point is to find ways to challenge yourself and build your confidence.
It's so true. So then there's this idea of staying curious and open-minded that really resonates with me.
Yeah, it's a big one.
I love learning new things and hearing different perspectives.
Me too.
But how does that play into communication?
Well, think about the best conversationalists, you know?
Okay.
They're probably genuinely interested in other people. They ask insightful questions. They listen attentively.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid to challenge their own assumptions.
Yeah, it's like they're always learning and growing.
Exactly. And that openness creates space for deeper connection and more meaningful conversation.
I love that.
And the podcast gave a really good example about taking the time to learn about someone's culture.
Oh, yeah?
If they come from a different background than you.
That's such a simple way to show respect and build understanding.
It is.
And it's a reminder that we can learn from everyone.
Absolutely. And that leads us to the final tip, which kind of brings everything together.
Ooh, okay, lay it on me. What's the 10th tip?
It's the idea of embracing communication as an ongoing journey.
Ooh, I like that.
It's not about mastering these 10 tips and then you're done.
It's like a lifelong thing.
It is. It's about constantly seeking to improve, learning from your mistakes, and adapting your communication style to different situations.
That makes a lot of sense. Like anything else you want to get good at?
Yeah, it takes practice, patience.
And a willingness to keep growing.
Exactly. And the rewards are huge.
So true. I mean, think about even small improvements in your communication can lead to stronger relationships.
Yeah.
Being a better leader, feeling more confident.
Absolutely.
The list goes on and on.
It does. It really does.
You know, what's interesting is going through all these tips, I realized how connected they all are. It's not like you just pick and choose one or the other.
Right.
It's like they all work together.
It's like a tapestry. Each thread represents a different aspect of communication.
Ooh, I like that, a tapestry.
And when they're all woven together, they create this beautiful and intricate whole.
Yes.
Yes.
And that tapestry is what allows us to really connect with others, right?
Yes, to build trust.
To foster understanding.
And create meaningful relationships.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired.
Me too. I'm ready to go out and have some amazing conversations.
Me too, armed with all these tips.
Exactly. And remember, even small changes can make a big difference.
So true.
So what's one tip you're going to focus on today?
Ooh, that's a good question.
How are you going to put these insights into action?
Yeah, what about you?
I think I'm going to focus on active listening today. I want to really tune in.
Ooh, I like that.
And make sure I'm fully present in my conversations.
Me too. I need to work on asking more questions.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in our own heads and forget to really listen.
So true. All right, well, I'm off to practice my communication skills.
Me too. Let's go out there and have some amazing conversations.
Until next time.
See ya. Okay, so, we talked about knowing your audience. We talked about active listening.
Right.
What about the stuff we do without even realizing it?
Oh, you mean like our body language?
Yeah. Like tip number 3, that's huge.
That's so true, and I've learned the hard way about that. Like I remember one time I was giving this presentation, and I thought I was coming off super confident, but somebody later told me I was fidgeting the whole time.
Oh no.
And like avoiding eye contact, I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah, your nonverbal cues can totally change how your message comes across.
They really can.
Like even just smiling can make you so much more approachable.
Yeah.
Well, if you're standing with your arms crossed, that's like defensive, right?
Totally. And they had a really cool suggestion in the episode.
What was that?
They said to record yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Like practice a conversation and then watch it back.
It can be so revealing.
Oh my gosh, so eye-opening.
You think you're doing one thing.
Yeah.
And then you see yourself and you're like, who is that?
Totally. Okay, but then there's this thing that I always get hung up on. It's like using the right words.
Oh, like vocabulary.
Yeah. I don't want to sound too simple, but I also don't want to use a bunch of big words just to sound smart.
Right.
So what's the balance?
Yeah, the fourth tip actually debunks that myth that you need to use all the big words.
Okay.
It's not about that. It's about using the words that most effectively.
Yeah.
And clearly communicate your message.
So clarity over complexity.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean you can't elevate your language.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Like, instead of relying on those generic words like good or bad all the time,
Yeah.
challenge yourself to use some more descriptive words.
Okay, so like what instead of good?
Instead of good, you could say exceptional.
Ooh, I like that.
And instead of bad, you could say disappointing.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's like adding spices to your dish, you know?
Ooh, I like that analogy.
You have all the right ingredients, but the spices make it so much more interesting.
Totally. Okay, and this kind of makes me think about the next tip, because everyone loves this one. It's all about storytelling.
Oh yeah, storytelling is powerful stuff.
Like, as humans, we love stories.
We do, we're hardwired for it.
But I like that in the episode, they actually explain why we love stories.
The science behind it.
Yeah.
So when we hear a story, our brains don't just process the information like a computer. We actually simulate the experience.
Whoa.
It's like the same neural pathways are firing as if we were living the story ourselves.
So you're like right there with the characters.
Exactly.
Right.
And because it activates all these different parts of our brain, the emotional centers, the sensory centers,
Oh, wow.
it's way more likely to stick with us than just boring old facts and figures.
It's like that presentation I went to. It was just like statistics and data.
We've all been
I
there.
was falling asleep and I was like, just tell me a story.
I know. Imagine if that presenter had taken those facts and figures and like woven them into a story.
Oh my God.
It would have been so much more relatable.
And memorable.
Exactly. So it's not about getting rid of the facts completely. It's about presenting them in a way that is meaningful.
And engaging.
Yeah, through story.
I'm taking notes. Okay, next tip. We got to keep things moving here.
All right, so let's talk about clarity and conciseness.
Ooh, this is a tough one for me. I tend to over-explain.
Oh, I feel that.
I get lost in the details.
I think we've all been on the receiving end of those long-winded explanations.
Yeah, you're just like, get to the point.
Exactly, like just tell me what you need to tell me.
Yeah.
And there's that saying, brevity is the soul of wit.
Okay,
Being clear and concise shows that you respect the other person's time.
makes sense.
And it makes sure that your message is actually heard.
That's so important.
You know, they gave a perfect example in the episode.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Instead of saying, I was thinking that maybe it would be a good idea to consider possibly going to the park,
oh my God, that is so me.
just say, let's go to the park.
Yes.
Get to the point.
Less is more.
Exactly. Think of it like every word you use should be working hard
Okay,
to convey your message.
I like that. Okay, so we talked about knowing our audience, active listening, body language, using the right words, storytelling.
We've covered a lot.
We are communication masters. But there's more, right?
There is more, and like any skill, communication takes practice.
It's like learning an instrument. It's not going to happen overnight.
Exactly. It takes effort and a willingness to step outside your comfort zone.
Totally. And I like that they actually had suggestions for how to practice.
Oh yeah, like what?
They said you could start conversations with strangers, you could join a public speaking group.
Like Toastmasters?
Yeah, or even practice in front of a mirror. I used to practice presentations in the shower.
Whatever works.
I know, it felt silly, but it helped.
The key is to find ways to challenge yourself and build your confidence over time.
So true. Okay, there's this idea of staying curious and open-minded. That one really resonates with me.
Oh yeah, me too.
Like, I love learning new things and hearing different perspectives.
It keeps things interesting, right?
It does. But how does that play into communication?
Well, think about the best conversationalists. You know, the ones who are just so engaging.
Yeah.
They're probably the ones who are just genuinely interested in other people. They ask thoughtful questions.
Yeah.
They really listen, and they're not afraid to challenge their own assumptions.
Like they're always learning and growing.
Exactly. And that openness just creates space for deeper connections and more meaningful conversations.
I love that.
And, you know, the episode gave that example of taking the time to learn about somebody's culture.
Oh, yeah.
If they're from a different background than you.
Which is such an easy way to show respect.
It is.
And it reminds us that we can all learn from each other.
Exactly. And that leads us to the final tip, which kind of ties everything together.
Okay, I'm ready. Lay it on me. What's the 10th tip?
It's the idea that communication is a journey.
Okay.
It's an ongoing process.
It's not like you just master these 10 tips and you're done.
Exactly. You're never really done learning and growing when it comes to communication.
A lifelong thing.
It is. It's about constantly seeking to improve, learning from your mistakes.
Right.
And adapting your communication style to different situations and different relationships.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like anything else you want to get good at.
Yeah, it takes practice, it takes patience.
And a willingness to keep learning.
And the rewards are huge.
They really are. I mean, even small improvements in your communication can lead to stronger relationships.
Yeah, being a more effective leader.
More confidence.
Absolutely.
It goes on and on.
It really does.
You know, going through all these tips, it made me realize how connected they all are. Like, it's not about picking and choosing one to use.
Yeah.
It's like they all work together.
It's like a tapestry. You know, each thread represents a different aspect of communication.
I love that analogy.
So when they're all woven together, it creates this beautiful, intricate whole.
And that's what lets us really connect with other people.
Exactly, to build trust, to foster understanding.
And to build those strong relationships.
Yes, it's beautiful.
I'm feeling so inspired.
Me too.
So what tip are you going to focus on today?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I'm going to work on active listening.
Oh, I like that.
Really tune in and be present in my conversations.
Nice, me too. I'll work on asking more questions.
It's so easy to get caught up in our own heads, right?
Yeah. We forget to really listen sometimes.
Totally.
All right, I'm off to practice my communication skills.
Me too. Let's go out there and have some amazing conversations.
Until next time.
See ya. It's the idea that communication's a journey, like it's always evolving.
Oh, so it's not like you check these 10 tips off the list and then you're done.
Yeah, exactly. You're never really done, right? It's about always trying to improve.
Like always learning.
Learning from your mistakes and being willing to adapt.
Yeah, to different people in different situations.
Exactly. And honestly, it's so worth it.
Yeah.
Because even small changes can have a big impact.
Like what kind of impact?
Well, your relationships can get stronger. You could be a better leader. You could feel more confident. I mean,
the list goes on.
It really does. You know, I was thinking about all these tips and I realized how connected they all are.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's not about picking and choosing which one to use.
Right.
It's about bringing them all together.
Yeah, it's like they all work together.
It's like a tapestry. Each thread is a different part of communication.
Ooh, I love that analogy.
And then when you weave them all together, you get this beautiful, intricate whole.
And that tapestry is what helps us connect with people.
Yeah, it helps us build trust.
Understanding.
And build those strong relationships.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to put it.
I think it's so important to remember that communication is how we connect with each other.
Yeah.
It's how we share our thoughts and feelings and everything.
And when we work on getting better at it, it's like we're not just investing in ourselves.
Right.
We're investing in all the relationships in our lives.
Exactly. So as you go out there, remember the power of your words, your body language.
That EQ, those emotions.
Yes. Embrace the journey of getting better at communicating.
It really can lead to such a more fulfilling and connected life.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
Oh, that's sweet.
Keep learning. Keep practicing.
Keep those conversations going.
Exactly.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I have so many more tools in my communication toolbox now.
Me too. And I hope everyone listening feels that way too.
So remember, even small changes can make a big difference.
They really can.
What's one tip that you're going to focus on today?
Ooh, good question.
How are you going to put these insights into action?
I think I'm going to work on being more concise.
Oh, yeah. That's a good word.
I tend to ramble, so I'm going to try to be more to the point.
I like that. What about you? I think I'm going to focus on remembering to just smile more.
Oh, that's a great one.
Because I think it'll make me seem more approachable, and it'll probably make me feel better, too.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
All right, well, that's it for this deep dive.
Until next time.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.